Okay, hello everybody. This is Conversations with Mr. P, with our massive audience of, what do we say, 19 people at least. And no, I don't know, whatever it is. But, some people have asked me why I'm doing this. And just the reason is because we have a time to pause in our country right now. So I thought, what better way to connect with people who I know and have been involved in different things in their life. And I thought, you know what, let's just do this and have conversations that can be helpful during this situation where we're all in the same boat, literally. So anyway, I thought, sorry, I'm getting a text. I need to hang that up. So anyway, I thought I'd get a hold of Jeff Peterson. Jeff and I have known each other for, it's been a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I taught you, what years was that?
I graduated high school in 2004. And so
Okay.
that was basically, I think I started going to Old 20 in the winter of 99. Or no, like right at winter of 99.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a minute.
All right. So Jeff, why don't you tell us about yourself and your family, and then we'll get into it from there.
Okay. So Jeff Peterson, and basically like you just heard, I've known Mr. P since I was in 7th grade at Old 20 Christian School in Beaufort, Georgia. And I want to say you left I think you left right after my junior year.
Okay.
I don't think you were there for my senior year, if I remember correctly.
You may be right. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, I graduated from Old 20, went to Pensacola Christian College in Florida, spent 4 years there, got my degree in history education, and basically started teaching at Old 20. Got married, met my wife Carmen there, and we moved back to Georgia. We were there for 4 years at Old 20, and then we moved out to her hometown of Weatherford, Texas. The church that she grew up in had started a school, I think, when we were sophomores or juniors in college, and basically they were kind of at a point where they were big enough to start thinking about sports. I was at a point where I was ready to kind of try something different and be more in charge of stuff, and so I went that way, and I was the athletic director there at Victory Baptist Academy in Weatherford for 7 years, and then just moved this year. It's my first year at Sunrise Christian in Wichita, Kansas, and so it's been an interesting curveball in our lives here. Neither one of us expected that. We got 3 boys, Carter, Gunner, and Asher, and they are 7, 5, and 3, and so that's a fun adventure right now.
Oh yeah.
And they all have very distinct personalities, and we're experiencing a lot of that right now, being home all day with them and then being home all day with us. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, that's basically the background, and my parents still live there. They moved to Flowery Branch, but they're still there at Old 20. And Sarah is teaching at the school, teaching kindergarten.
Who is?
My sister, Sarah.
Oh, is she still? Okay.
Yep. So her kids are there as well. They're not there at school now, but so that's basically the background. So
so I coached Sarah and you for at least 3 seasons each then, right?
Let's see. So yeah, you were already coaching when I was there in 7th grade.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't officially play for you until I was a sophomore.
Okay.
That was my first year on varsity, and then I guess we just had 10th and 11th grade for me.
That sounds right.
And you might have been there my senior year, but I know you didn't coach me my senior year.
That might have been what happened. I think I only coached volleyball that year because I was pastoring too.
Because you were there, but you weren't coaching.
Yeah, I think I was pastoring. Yeah, that's what it was.
Sounds right. But,
yeah.
Yep. So
what is your so tell me a couple of memories from high school basketball that you remember. I have one of you that I'll never forget. I tell the story all the time. So what's the memory you have?
On the story?
Yeah.
All right, that's exciting. No, I would say probably my favorite. It was hard to think about it honestly, because a lot of it runs together for me. I'm one of those people, like, I'll play a game, I'll coach a game, I'll watch a movie, or I'll do something. People will ask me later, they'll ask me 20 minutes after it's over, do you remember that part? And I'll be like, no, I don't.
I'm that way too.
So when it's what's my favorite memory? I was like, I don't really know. Sophomore year to me was a lot of fun. Just because I wasn't on varsity as a freshman. I was one of the few freshmen who weren't, but that class was loaded.
Yeah.
With all those athletes, and so I was JV man. And so sophomore year was all right, I'm finally on varsity because everybody left, and I was the only one left. So you had to play me. And one of the things that stands out most, and I don't know. It was we were at the Lake Dow tournament. No. Sorry, Forest Park. We were at Forest Park at the beginning of the year, and it was the first game of the season, I think, and it was halftime, and we were not doing well. And I remember you were kind of motivating us to do a little better, and I remember you turned to me and you said, "Pete, I'm banking on you this year," and that was the first time that hit me, that like I had a job on this team.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh wow, he's counting on me to like do something. We're in a bad spot because I was last year. And if I'm your best option, man, we're gonna lose some games. I remember thinking that, but being like excited, like, okay, I'm expected to go out and to play hard and have fun. So maybe we did that a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the Lake Dow tournament always pops into my mind though. So I remember that was where I took my first charge on purpose.
Uh-huh.
And it's also I fouled out of a game and we still won, and that was kind of like, it was I fouled out and I just remember being really excited we pulled it off. But and then the other memory was Joe Tight Shorts. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember vaguely. I don't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was like a March Madness commercial, and he was like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we just I don't know, we just got a kick out of it. And I remember ESPN the magazine like ran like a full page, like I think it was like a Geico ad, I don't know, but it was like a full page ad. And so we took it out and we laminated in the locker room. You remember? We all had tight shorts.
I remember that. I do remember that now. That's great.
So I just remember like I've tried like explaining that to kids like that I coach.
Yeah.
About it. Like it's not on YouTube. Like you can't find Joe Tight Shorts anywhere.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it was weird. I thought, I'll be able to find this dude. He was hilarious. And it was only like 2 commercials or whatever. But we all got a big kick out of him. So he was
I do remember that now. Yeah. I remember what year did you split your knee open jumping over the bench?
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget that.
I guess I was a junior.
Okay.
Because I couldn't play in the Lake Dow tournament that year.
Well, because that was the year that we were having a really tough year. And we had nicknamed our mascot Kurt the Conqueror. Yeah. Remember that? And I remember we kept teasing you about stepping up, and you're like, "Yo, man, Kurt's having a rough year this year." That was the joke. But I never forget when you jumped over the bench, and I remember you ran straight to the locker room, and Coach Wells followed you into. He walked up the bench and followed you into the locker room or the bathroom, wherever you went. And I'm in the middle. I'm totally zoned out, and he comes back. He goes, "Coach, he's done." And I remember I looked at him. I said, "Get some duct tape.
Yeah, right.
Tape the thing up and get him back out here." He's like, "Look at me. You're not listening." I'll never forget, Mr. Wells, he's just, he's like, "Look at me. You're not listening to me." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "He's going to the hospital." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, right. I remember I got to the hospital afterwards, and they had not sewed you up yet.
Yeah, no, I was gaped open for a little while.
Oh, and she's like poking and pulling things. I'm like, "Sew this up. What is wrong with you?"
You were getting a big kick out of it, though.
Like
you were looking and like, "What are you doing now? Explain to me what's happening here."
Well, at first I was like, "Is that the tendon?" She goes, "No, here, I'll show you that." And she's pulling stuff. And you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was. I don't know. I remember I actually played for a minute after it happened.
Did you?
And then I remember looking down my leg and like blood was just trickling from my knee down to my sock. It was just like a stream. And I was amazed. Like I did for like a solid like minute after it happened, and nobody noticed or said anything. And like once that happened, I got the rest attention. I was like, "Hey, I'm bleeding." And that's when I went to the bathroom. I remember like going to the bathroom thinking like, just wipe it up. We'll get something on it. And just looking at it and being like, "Oh wow, my knee is it is open." I tell kids the story too. Like, "Did you save it?" I'm like, "I don't remember."
No. The ball stayed in bounds.
That's right, it did.
Oh, absolutely.
Did we get it in 4 or they scored? That's probably
the only thing about that game I remember is that happening right there. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were playing no, here's the deal. We were playing Maranatha from Oakland.
Were we?
Yeah. Because
they were good
against the 1-3-1 for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it happened really early in the game. I want to say we were doing halfway decent.
I think you're right.
And I mean, it was one of those games you knew like the floodgates were going to open eventually. They were a lot better than us, but for a while we were hanging. And I remember that was what I was most upset about. Like, it's like, oh man, that was a big opponent, and I wanted to play.
Yeah, and the other thing is that
it was coming up too, and my knee was going to be in stitches, so I wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah, so. and the other thing was that was a point in my coaching career where I was still not great against that 1-3-1. I was trying to hold the ball rather than attack the basket. And I just never got that really, really well taught at that point in my career. What's
love the
that?
1-through-1. People in Kansas love the 1-through-1.
Do they?
I've never coached against it more in my life, and I still don't know what to do against it. Like, I mean, like I get the idea, but like communicating that to players has been real hard for me. I think just
Yeah.
because, and I talked to the elite coach. I'm just like, man, I am struggling against 1-through-1. He's like, what? He's like, you just play. He's just like,
Yeah.
like there's no plays, there's no offense. He's
There's
just like,
not.
you gotta have guys that know how to find space and guys that
Yeah.
know when to pass it. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm in trouble. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not that good enough of a coach, and my guys just they're not there yet, to be honest. But you know,
Yeah, it's funny. I actually watched a video from a guy in Canada about a month ago about this. I thought it was going to be coaching AAU. That's out right now. But and it actually talked about how he tries to attack the baseline and skip it,
yeah.
and then from the skip rotate and then attack the baseline again. And that's
Is it
basically all.
was it a basketball Manitoba video?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Those guys are amazing.
he's fantastic.
Was it is it Kirby Shep?
Yeah, that's him.
That guy is money. That
He
guy's
is money. I
I've
agree.
watched so many of his videos. Yeah, it was I don't know. I've like Basketball Manitoba to me is like the greatest free resource
I agree.
going right now for basketball. Like if any of the 19 listeners are coaches, check it out. It's pretty solid. Like I've gotten a lot from it.
I agree.
Organization. So
It's funny. I shared a video with our head guys coach, and he's like, "Dude, I watch that guy all the time." I'm like, "You do?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah." And so yeah, it's one of those things. I think nobody talks about it, but it's a great resource. You're right. It's free resource, and I've watched at least 4 hours of their stuff, maybe longer, and man, it's money. It's just solid.
They have a good one. It's not that Kirby Shep guy. It's another dude on the run and jump full court defense.
Yep.
And,
I watched it.
Yeah, no, I put that whole thing in with my team at Victory 2 years ago. It was really fun. I tried to do it here, and the mindset's just not there. Like the program here. Well, I'm a fourth coach in 4 years for my team. Okay. So there's like no consistency whatsoever. So, but like it seems like everybody's just kind of used to like slowing it down. And so like the run and jump attitude, like the mindset that you have to be in wasn't there for us. But when I was at Victory, like they didn't really know any better. So I was telling them like, this is how we're going to play. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. That's how you play basketball. And we had some fun with it, man. Like it was a lot of fun just kind of getting out and get after the ball handler.
So how big is the school that you're at, Sunrise?
All right. So Sunrise K to 12 is about 550 to 600.
Okay.
So decent size. I mean, not huge, but bigger than all the other schools I've ever been a part of. So to me, like there's still kids that, you know, if we were walking around in the hallways, there's still kids like, I don't know who they are. Like I don't teach that kid. They don't play sport. I don't know who they are, you know, like, and I've never had that, you know, experience in my life. You know, it's always just like, I can name anybody from kindergarten to 12th grade. So yeah, so that's about how big it is. Yeah. So
and then you coach. So explain the basketball at Sunrise.
So okay, the basketball program is just incredible. Like I'm just like I don't know how I ended up here. Honestly, I feel like a fly on the wall all the time. But it's a great place to be a fly on the wall. It's like all right, so they have. I'll just start with the high school. So you know, the high school probably about a decade ago started doing like international players. And that just kind of morphed into, I mean, after a while they started winning and being pretty good, to where it became a school that lots of people wanted to come play at. And they started to recognize that they were still playing like the Christian school league. And they're just like, you know, this is not really fair to the other schools we're playing. So my hat's off to them because lots of schools want to stay in the league that they're going to win every time with their players. They're just like, we just need to separate it. And so I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago, they separated it and they had an elite team. And then they have what's called the silver team, which is what I'm currently coaching. Since then, they've also added in between those two teams, a select team that is basically, you know, because our elite team now, I mean, for people that don't keep up with it, our elite team was ranked number 4 in the nation by Max Preps. By the end of the season, they were going to, if the tournament was going to be held, they were going to go to Geico Nationals,
New
York City. Yeah. So, I mean, like IMG, Montverde, all those schools were going to be there. They've got wins over DeMatha Catholic this year. They've got wins. I mean, like the elite team, it's nuts. I mean, they have 12 guys on the roster and 11 of them are D1 locks, it's just a question of, am I
What
going mid
level?
major or high major is pretty
Yeah.
much the question. Like, so that's been a really cool experience there. But yeah, so they have the elite team, then they have the select team. The select team is all international students, pretty much guys that came here for basketball but aren't like they're not going to play D1. Most of them are like D2 guys. They're still
Yeah. Still high level then. Yeah.
like they're still really good. And then after that, they have my team, and my team is mostly. I had a few international guys because, like the school, they do the boarding students for basketball, but they also have a very strong, just international student presence. So there's a bunch of kids in the school from all kinds of different countries that they're not here for basketball. They're here for school. And so I had a few kids like that on my team. I had 2 kids from Spain, 2 kids from the Bahamas. Let's see, a kid from Australia. So like I had a few guys from there, but they were just here to be here, and then everybody else is local Wichita kids that have, pretty much grown up in the school. So it was a weird experience.
Are there more Kansas fans or Wichita fans there?
We're in Wichita, so it's all Wichita State. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
black and yellow everywhere. So, and then Kansas fans are ostracized. In
That's
fact,
probably good for you.
our
Yeah.
administrator is he's like, I don't know how old he's like 75 years old. He started the school back in '83, and one of the most amazing people I've ever met, to be honest. But he hates Kansas. It's really funny. And one of our guys is a junior this year, but like Kansas is after him pretty hardcore, and he's gone up there a couple times. And our administrator, everybody calls him Doc. He's like, yeah, I don't know what happens if he goes to Kansas. I mean, I've always cheered for our kids. I've always cheered for our kids. I just don't know. I don't know if I can do it. And I was just
Oh my word.
And I was like, I was joking, but he was just like, I'm dead serious. I don't know. The Wichita State it's like the little brother complex, Everybody feels very.
And it's a big college though, right? It's a big university.
Oh, Wichita State's huge, yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
It's pretty good. Like they don't play each other now.
Yeah, I figured not.
Kansas has more to lose there, and Wichita State's decent. I mean, they had a rough year this year. Their whole team's transferring pretty much.
They go up and down. Yeah, but when they're good, they are solid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty crazy, right? So like September is when the elite team and the select team. I didn't mention too, they have a post grad team, so like a bunch of 19-year-old guys. Basically, wow. Like they live here on campus, and they take a couple classes, like online college classes, but for the most part, they're here for like a 5th year. So that way they get an extra year, and they just play other prep teams, whatever. But so yeah, there's 4 different teams. But no, the elite and select and the post grad all start practicing in September, and so like I had nothing going on. My season doesn't start till football's over,
right.
And our football team's pretty good. So every year they're going pretty deep, and so I was just kind of sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So I started going to practice with the elite team day one and the select team, and it's pretty crazy because right about, I think it was like mid-October, it was some week with NCAA where coaches could go look and watch and whatever. And I'm not joking when I say there were 35 D1 coaches and assistants at practice one day.
Holy
and
smokes.
Like the wall like on the side of the court was just loaded. And like you look down, it's just like there's Greg Marshall. Phil Martelli was here. Like it was just like, I mean, I could name like 10 dudes on the wall, and then if I couldn't name them, it was like, oh, that's the assistant at Texas. That's the assistant from, it was Bruce Weber was there. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's been pretty crazy, just and then like Richard Patino was here a few weeks ago because he was looking at one of our post grad guys, and the guy who started the elite program is actually now an assistant at Minnesota.
Okay.
But no, it's been nuts. Just kind of
crazy. So where does the elite and the silver team where do they play? Do they play on campus or do they play?
So the elite team plays a few home games on campus. If they're playing a home game, though, it's usually a team that they're going to roll by like 45 or 50, unfortunately. They had one team this year at home give them a run, and it wasn't expected, so that was kind of a nervy game. Like, I don't think they've lost at home in like 6-7 years. And then, like, the majority of their, like, big-time schedule is when they go to those tournaments. Like, right. I mean, they play, I mean, pretty much from December, like 2 of the kids on the elite team are in one of my history classes. And like, the whole month of December, like they just weren't there on Thursday and Friday every week. Thursday, it's like no, they're at they're at whatever tournament. There's a bunch of them, and then
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, basically what they'll do too is they'll find like prep programs and they'll bring them in on like Friday they'll play our elite team and Saturday they'll play our prep team, and then I think their final record was I think they're something like 18-3 on the season, and all 3 of their losses came to other top 10 teams in the country. So it was basically like that. So they play in the gym. We play all of our home games in the gym here on campus. So yeah. So it's basically, I mean, it's a high school team. On both sides of it for sure.
Yeah. What are you teaching this year?
So I'm teaching
Classes?
7th grade world history. I got 2 sections of that.
I'm teaching that.
1 section of 8th grade world history, or U.S. history.
I got that too. Yeah.
2 of the, so our high school has standard classes and they have AP classes, and so that I teach 2 of the high school world history standard sections, and so that's been interesting too, because like I have a lot of international students, and so like kids will come in like week 1 and they barely speak English. Like supposedly they're supposed to like test and they're supposed to be like proficient before they get here, but there's a crack in the system somewhere, because some of these kids show up and you're just like talking, they're just looking at you, and then after class they're like, okay, and I'm like, do you understand what happened today? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Okay, cool.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
what's it like? What is it like coaching an international player, or how is it different? Let's ask it that way. Or is it different?
That's a good question. And no, it is different for sure. I think the hardest part is not, and this sounds bad, but not stereotyping. Because you kind of like in my experience this year, dudes from this country, you can't count on them to be on time for anything. Dudes from this country are, if they get like a headache in second hour, like they're not going to practice. They might not even be at school tomorrow. Like it's a different, and like I had American kids who were the same way. Like,
sure.
So, but it was kind of funny though. You start to like kind of see them by country, just like, oh no, these guys are like this, and these guys are like that. Style of play was an issue for some of the guys. But honestly, just being the first year coach, dealing with a group of kids that, like I said, there's been very little consistency in the silver program for the last few years. So, I mean, we were all trying to figure out what in the world we wanted to do in life and in basketball, to where
now do you have an assistant with you, or?
So for most of the year, I had no assistant.
So just you.
Okay. That was really hard. Without saying too much, like I had some personalities on the team. So like I'm by myself in the gym with, and I had like 16 dudes, because I was doing varsity and JV a little bit, and it's just a lot of guys. Do you
have any size?
Yeah, we had a 6'6", and he was a very, very talented player. We were in the games that we won. We were 7-20 on the year. The games that we won were because he went off. I mean, there was one game. I don't know how we beat a team we weren't supposed to even be on the court with. And basically it's because he probably had 30, 15 and 10. Like, no, the kid's an absolute beast.
Yeah. And
you
may lose him next year. He may move up.
Actually he moved down.
Oh, okay.
This year he was on the select team. But a new thing they did for this year was if you came here to play on the select team to play basketball, that's all you did. So if you wanted to play other sports, you basically had to be a normal student, which I agree with. I mean, it's kind of,
Yep.
It really gives us a competitive advantage, because I like last year they had like elite players from the basketball team on the football team. So like, they had some pretty talented dudes on the football field as well.
Yeah.
So like, to make it more fair and to keep us in good relationships with our league and everything, we made that rule. Also too, we're trying for all the like normal public school or normal high school teams here at Sunrise, they're trying to get them to go CASA, which is the state association for like public schools.
Yeah.
And like CASA is a little weird because, well, they think we're a little weird because they're just like, we want to make sure you're not shuffling kids around. So, but no, that kid moved down from the select team because he wanted to play football. And so he got to play with me. And yeah, he's going to community college on a football scholarship.
Nice.
He's gonna be a pretty good football player in the
You know,
future.
it's funny you mentioned about international students. My
Mhm.
son played for Pleasant High School soccer for
Yep.
3 years. I was 4, and one year they had a exchange student from Egypt, and he was never on time to anything. Never.
Yeah.
He missed school so much. He was doing Saturday school at a public
Mm.
school. He's
Wow.
never came to anything on time.
Yeah.
And my wife and son just got back from the Dominican Republic, and they said nothing ever started there on time ever.
Like just, and I had American kids that also do, because it was kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not. This is probably my weakness as a coach. I'm not a very like, this is how it's going to be guy. Like to
Mhm.
me, I try to lay out like, this is why it needs to be this way, and I hope you guys all agree, because we're going to lose if it's not this way. That's usually like the extent of my, like, I need to be more just, no, stop. This is how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so with like international students, we're, hey, the van's pulling out at 3:40. Make sure you're in, because we practice off campus.
Right.
Because we only have one gym for all these teams that we have. And so,
Wow.
hey, the van's pulling out at 3:40. So get your stuff after school, and like, guys are rolling to the van at like 3:45. And students from from out of countries, like, it's like, oh, hey, coach, sorry I'm late. It's like, hop in the van, we gotta go. Let's go. Let's go. And once I started that, like the American kids were kind of just like, oh, well,
I show up.
yeah, I mean, if this dude doesn't care, if 3:40 means 3:50, I mean, shoot,
Yep.
So like that was, just getting places on time this year was way harder than it needed to be. And
Yep.
honestly, I should have just started. I should have just started. Now, once I got an assistant around January, middle of January. One of the dads was just like, "Hey, man, I can start coming to practice if you want."
You're like,
Which
great.
at that point, I don't know if it was like, you clearly need some help, or if it was just like, because I mean, like, it was not a good, season. Yeah, I just, like, it was funny. Like, you had Chris Hobbs on here the other day, and he was actually somebody that you set me up with. I called
Yeah.
him when I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do
I
here.
remember that.
And we had a great conversation, and he was, incredibly wise, and just kind of seeing him yesterday made me like, oh yeah, I need to check out his blog again. So,
Yeah.
like one of his articles on there is basically thriving through losing. It was some other terminology. Anyways, I read it. I'm just like, we did not have that season last year. Like we survived the season.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Chris is a good dude because he puts things in perspective, because he played obviously college ball, but he also coached at different levels, and so
Right.
he's probably lost. I don't know his record, but he's probably lost more than he's won.
Right.
And I know even here at where I'm at now at Delaware Christian, because we're in the public school leagues, it puts things in perspective when you play, because you're not going. Look, our teams at our school, other than our girls are exception, because of we have 2 athletes that are just all nation.
Right.
But once Lissy graduates this year, it'll be normal again for our girls too, and you begin to realize that it's much more about win. It's more than just wins,
Yeah.
and not that you don't want to win. Obviously, if you're playing, you want to win, but there comes a point when you have to accept the fact that if your culture's not healthy, then
Mhm.
nothing else is going to be successful.
Right.
And then when you lose, then it just goes off the rails really fast.
That was kind of the season this year. There was no established culture. I'm doing everything I can to build it, but I'm one
Yep.
guy,
Yep.
and I don't want to make too many excuses for myself. 'Cause at the end of the day, like, hey,
Sure.
we got to figure that out too.
Yep.
But I just know, like, we started off the season 5-0. We were 5-5 at Christmas, and then we didn't win another game until late January.
That's rough.
And like basically right around getting to Christmas was huge, because we lost 5 games in a row, and then like we're at Christmas break,
Yeah.
and so that was good. We had a little reset, but pretty much about 2 weeks into January, you just saw the season just like just
Yeah.
it was tough. It was tough, and
Yeah.
that's when all the interpersonal stuff comes out. After you've lost a bunch of games, winning covers a lot of things, and
does.
culture covers even more. And so we didn't have the culture in place. We weren't winning games, and it got a little testy in certain spots. And honestly, my assistant coach coming in at the right time, because he was just another voice, and he had also been the assistant coach on the middle school team. A lot of my team is freshmen, so having a familiar voice coming in and being like, "Listen, we've been here. I know you can do this."
Yeah.
And he was a huge help, huge support. So I'm just like, I need to make sure I have an assistant for next year.
You'll appreciate this. So last year I coached at Delaware Christian where Micah played soccer. I was assistant coach, and we lost a game we shouldn't have lost. And so the next day we met in my classroom. We watched some video, and I said, "Hey, when did we lose this game?" And so they start saying, "Well, we lost in the first 5 minutes. We lost here. We lost there." I said, "No, you lost that game last May when you guys didn't show up for workouts, when you guys didn't work on your own, you didn't do any touches." I said, "Look," I said, "the culture is only going to be as good as you want it to be. And if you don't show up for stuff, you don't put the extra work in, we can do all the X's and O's you want, but if you're not committed to it, that's the culture. That's the culture."
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Hey, let me ask you a question. How do you like
Yep.
Kansas?
Man, I'm loving Kansas, and I'm kind of surprised about that. Because when we came, it was basically about a year ago this week is when we came to check it out and interview, and we were not super impressed with the state in general, with Wichita. But since moving here, it's, I don't know, I kind of dig the Midwest vibe. Growing up in the South, like, growing up in New England until I was 12, and then spending the next 12, 15 years in the South, whether it be Georgia or Texas or even, Florida for a little while for college. Then moving here, it's like I can't compare it to, there's not a whole lot of comparisons with the South. There's no comparisons with New England. It's its own spot. So I like it. Whether, the weather is, a good mix of everything you could want pretty much. It's pretty sunny out today, but we had, we didn't have any snow days this year, but we had plenty of snow. So that was kind of cool to me, because growing up in the South, it was like when it snows, it shuts down, or when you think it snows, it shuts down. So like I've enjoyed Kansas. It's been a good. I thought Carmen would be tough because once a Texan, always a Texan. Living in Georgia was rough for 4 years. I mean, I think a lot of that too is just where we were as, like, just our age, and newly married, and she was away from home and all that. So that was hard for her. But like I thought moving away from Texas could be tough. But I think it's been pretty good for her too. So no, we like it. It's like I said, it's different. Like we're in the Great Plains for sure. Like you leave Wichita and it's just flat, nothing.
Wow.
There's some rolling hills here and there, but like if you go west of here, it's like just flat.
So how is Kansas reacting or handling the outbreak?
Well, we've been pretty, I would say, proactive. Compared to some other states. I know our governor shut down school literally the first day of spring break. It just came back, because spring break was last week for us, and it was just kind of like, hey, you're not going back from spring break. You're shut down. That was all the public schools. We do, what the public schools do. So they've done that. We just, today was actually the first day of not necessarily shelter in place, but stay at home. Yeah. Now that was for just Wichita, or just this county, Sedgwick County. They gave a list of exceptions of people who, don't need to. And it was like, 35 points long. So I don't really know how much of a stay-at-home order it is if almost everyone can leave the house. But I'm happy to know that everybody's being told to stay where they're at. Now, I'm in my classroom, but I live a mile from the school and nobody's here, except for a few other teachers. So aside from the classroom and, maybe some grocery store stops, like we packed it in last night and we're ready to ride it out for a little while. So
your schools are closed for the rest of the year, correct?
Yeah. Like there's no,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, pretty much, and like these past 2 days have been coming in, meeting with administration, getting some instruction on, using Google Classroom, using Zoom. We're going to use some Zoom meetings for, like, I'm going to do it once a week for all my classes. We'll check in and I'll talk to them for a little bit, but all my classes now are going to be video lessons.
So what we did, our governor shut down schools, was it a week and a half ago? Okay. But we had spring break last week.
Right.
Well, this week we had not used our snow days. So we used 5 snow days this week. And then next week will be our first week of online learning. Officially, our schools are only closed until April the 6th. Now, ironically, he's already closed daycares that the governor has until the end of April. So,
really?
So there's no way we're going to school until the end of April, I think.
See, that's weird because I hear all the daycares are open.
Really?
Like Sunrise has a daycare, and like while I was working yesterday, our daycare and our K4 program have been open, and so like my youngest two sons, they went to school now. Gunner, he's in K4, and his class, it was just him, his teacher, and another little girl. And they normally have like 15 in there, so
Yeah.
it just kind of shows you like people are like, yeah, I don't care if it's open, I'm not coming.
Right.
But and like our kids, like we just did that yesterday because we were working, so it's like, we'll send them to daycare.
Yeah.
They're at home with Carmen, and I'm gonna get home here in a little while, and we'll tag off, and she can come in and do some work. And
Yeah.
but yeah, so they're not going back, but the daycares are open. I guess just to support people who need it.
Well, it's funny because there's just a huge debate worldwide as to what should and shouldn't be open. I don't know if you watched my video with Mrs. C
I did,
from
and
Hong Kong.
very
It's
comforting and very,
fascinating.
yes. Because I worry. That's my job in life. It's the biggest thing that I struggle with spiritually. But yeah, like, so just this thing has just been eating me up, because I'm like, like we probably all already have it. And in like 2 weeks, we're going to need to all go to the hospital. There's going to be no hospital beds. Like that's playing in my mind like 24/7. And like, I have my phone out and I'm just reading all these articles, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm latching on to like the 1 out of 10 that's like somewhat positive. Like, okay. And I just really just need to remember, like, I just need to trust the Lord that, it's all in his control. But
there comes a point where I have to turn off social media because it just gets crazy.
Well, I got off social media, I guess about 2-3 years ago now. Just kind of made a personal decision, like, what, as I think it's bringing more negative to my life than it is positive, so I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And but I still, the Apple News app is like my new social media, and so I'm just, and it's like, oh no, they say that the death rate is going to be this high, and it's just stuff like that. But I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen, and I'd like to think that here in America, we obviously haven't taken a lot of the necessary steps, but we're doing enough now to where we shouldn't be in a totally horrible situation here in a little bit.
We're going to find out about. No, and we'll know in about 2 weeks, because I know that some of the spring break nonsense that was going on in Florida. Holy smokes! Yeah, but we'll know in 2 weeks for sure. Yeah. And I hope that we overreacted. If
that's what I'm hoping for too.
Yeah. Let's see here. Are you reading anything currently?
I saw that you texted that earlier. I'm just like, oh no. Right now I'm not. Like I'm not. I don't know. It was weird. I went through like probably about a 4-year stretch where it's just like I was reading a book all the time.
I remember that.
And it was like, it's weird, and it sounds bad, but especially for an educator. But it was almost just like I just stopped, and it was just like, oh, just kind of a breath of I don't know. It's hard to say, because not reading is not really a breath of fresh air, because you're stagnant, you're not growing. But right now I'm not reading. Now I did write down like pretty much every book you and Chris mentioned the other day. It's like I need to read that.
Listen, if some of the books that he mentioned I need to read too, but he got me to read Operation Paperclip.
Okay.
Dude, listen,
you both seem to be pretty high on that one.
It's terrifying, man. You got to read that. It's
terrifying. How? I don't know if I should read.
So here's the premise of the book. Okay, the premise of the book is that in Nazi Germany in 1945, all of the scientists that were working on Hitler's biological weapons stuff, was hired by the United States and brought to the United States.
Right.
They were all brought here.
Okay.
And they're paid by the government to basically restart the program for us. That's the basic premise of the book. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, check it out. You're like, what?
Yeah, I will for sure.
Let's see here. So what do you like about coaching?
I would say I've thought about this a lot. Not just since but like, all right, because we all have our days where it's just like, why am I even doing this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I had a few of those days today, this year. I had a lot my first year at Victory. We were 0-20 as a varsity team, and it was just like, why am I even trying to bring basketball to this school that clearly does not need to be playing? And we've had great success since then. But no, like you have those days, and so like, and I realized the thing that I like most is the prospect of next season. I don't know. It seems like that's the thing that I'm always thinking about. Like this is almost like my favorite time of the year, because and I'm really upset because this whole thing is obviously there's a whole lot bigger stuff going on in the world of basketball. But I had a great like off season plan. We've had meetings right before spring break, and everybody was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like I was really excited for the off season because I think I had a lot of kids who were like, "No, like we have had bad years, and we need to do something different. We're gonna work this year." And we had programs in place, but I'm always like big into like, all right, next year this is what we're looking at. This is the type of offense that we're going to be putting in, and just putting the schedule together. Like I love all that stuff, and then I love the coaching part in season. But just that's probably my favorite part is just the every season is like once the season's over, it's over. Like next year can be better. Next year will be better. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I just know that I like to think that over the course of my 3 different stops now, at Old Swanee, next year always was better than the year before. And so I'm hoping I can continue that trend, because that is something that I don't know. It's just weird. My personality, I latch on to, what's going to be better about the next time we do this.
That's a good outlook though, because it's easy as a coach to go, man, we're 0-20. How much worse can this get? And again, it goes back to the whole culture discussion that we had yesterday with Chris, and even today with you, is I think it's important to be realistic, but you can be positive and still be realistic.
Yeah, see, I think I'm too realistic sometimes. Like I'm positive, but in the season I'll be like, guys, like this team we're playing on Friday is really good, and they're and I give them a little bit too much of that. And that was one thing. The assistant coach that came in, you would have thought if we scrimmaged the elite team, he would have been like, all right, here's some things that I think we could exploit and help us win the game. It's just like, dude, you're crazy. And the thing is, like, we played a couple games where we were in the game solely because he was the guy driving the idea of we can be like, all right, our league tournament, we were the 8 seed and we were playing the 1 seed. 1 seed was pretty good. They had like a 6'9", some guards that were incredible. And we were down 3 at half. And this is a team that was, at that point 7-18, and it was, like we've been running the same stuff we were running all year, but the guy next to me on the bench all week had been saying, I've been watching video guys. They're not that good. Like, no, like you can lock him down. You can, and it's just like kids get that. And it made me realize that this year, like I need to be more, I need to just kind of more belief. Like I believe that you can do this.
It's good.
It was hard though. Cause like, that's my whole thing. Like, I don't want somebody to lie to me. Like and say that I can do something that I can't. And so I try to, I don't know. I try to toe that line, but I think sometimes I err on the side of like, yeah, you know what? They're pretty good. We probably won't beat them, but I want to see you go out there and play hard. And kids don't get that, kids kind of think like, well, if they're going to beat us, then I don't know. I hate to be the old guy. It seems like kids today, if I'm going to show up and get beat,
why put the effort out?
Yeah, that seems to be the mindset. I remember even when we were bad, I always circled like the Kingsway and the People's games because it's just like, yeah, we're gonna get beat, but if I score 20, like like I feel, and I know that's a selfish way to look at it. And I realize now as a coach, I was a pretty selfish player, but I love those games because they're just like, no, I'm gonna score 20 on People's. We might lose by 20, but like when we leave the gym, they're gonna look at me and say, well, we had to worry about him. That was kind of always my outlook. I didn't really care if it was
and I remember playing at Kingsway for their homecoming, and I remember we got hammered that game.
Yeah.
But I remember walking off the court afterwards. It was funny. I had more parents come up to us and congratulated us on how hard we played and the way we played than probably any game I ever coached since then. It's the weirdest thing ever. You guys you're diving for loose balls. What's that?
Was that my team?
I'm pretty sure it was. You might have been JV. I don't remember. But we got absolutely annihilated on their homecoming night.
Yeah.
And I remember afterwards, people were like, man, you guys are down by 35 diving for loose balls with 2 minutes to play in the game. I'm like, that's how we're going to play.
I know that was my team.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was one of the years I played. I think it might have been my junior year because we had our team was
right.
Our team was okay that year.
Yeah, they're right. Yeah.
It was us. It was me. It was Jeremy Davis. It was Josh Green.
Slowest point guard in the world.
Yeah. Like he was, but he was
so deceptive.
I wish that like I had a few more kids that played. I've only seen one other kid, honestly, in my like coaching career that understood the game the same way he did, in that like
Yes.
the point guard can be in control of the
Yes.
whole thing on the
I
offense.
agree.
I mean, this kid would be like this kid that I'm describing, and he'd do stuff and be like, "That's Jeremy Davis." And it's just like he would see like, "Oh, the big man is in the in the paint. I'm gonna drive, not really to score. I'm pretty sure I can draw a foul on him." And like that was stuff that Jeremy would do, and this kid would do it. I'm like, "Oh, that's Jeremy Davis." I would tell Jeremy too, because it was that old Swanee. I'd be like, "You need to
Okay.
come watch this kid play because." He didn't look like Jeremy. He was a little bit, more athletic looking, but at the same time, yeah, no disrespect to Jeremy.
Oh, listen, I'm tagging him in this. This is
It's
gonna be
okay.
great.
Yeah, he knows.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. Jeremy was one of the most weird players to coach because athletically, like, just forget about it. But
Yeah.
cerebrally, he knew exactly what we're supposed to do on both sides of the ball all the time.
Yeah.
Funniest thing ever.
Yep. No,
Yep. His ball fakes were so slow, everyone thought it was a real ball fake.
Uh-huh.
Weirdest thing ever. Yeah.
I remember he used to dribble jump stop at the elbow, fake a pass here, fake a pass there, turn around and fake a pass. And by then the dude had bitten on one of them. They just turn around and shoot it because the guy was no longer there.
I know.
That wouldn't work for anyone else.
No.
I remember he used to drive. I tell kids this all the time. I was like, point guard I played with in high school guys, he would drive the lane, go up for a layup, slap his own hand on the way up. And the high school refs would be like, I heard it. That's a foul right there.
Foul.
And he'd get it like more often than not. I remember one time he was going up for a layup and he had no options and he just threw the ball out of bounds, like underneath the basket. And like this is probably more of a testament to how like dumb the refs were. But like it was just like, well, surely this kid wouldn't have just thrown out of bounds. He must have got slapped out of bounds. It's staying here. Like he did so many.
And what's funny though, I remember him throwing the ball out of bounds one time and him telling me, I knew it's better off me throwing in the stands than actually for a layup. It's hard to argue with that.
No, like,
it's hilarious.
you're mad that it's a turnover. But
yes.
It's just like, well, at least you thought about the turnover.
Yeah.
You're right. That's a better turnover because now we can go set up defense. But like, I don't know.
That's great. All right, let's see. What are you currently binge watching?
Right. We just restarted Downton Abbey the other night. We're big Downton fans.
Nice.
Yeah. And let's see. Before that, kind of your standard stuff. There's always The Office. Yeah. And I'm trying to think. There was something else when I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, Downton Abbey, but we just finished watching something.
My son Micah is going through The Office season and episode by episode.
Okay.
In order.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, like, it's kind of funny, like, how many high schoolers like that show.
Oh, dude, it's quoted at our school more than anything else.
Oh yeah, no, like, like really, like kids that I teach. If I've made a connection with a kid, it's usually because like they find out like, oh, he gets my Office references, and
Yeah.
so I'll throw one in class every once in a while. They like it, so yeah.
That's great. Has there been a lot of impact yet on high school sports as far as like seniors and future stuff with this whole shutdown?
I would say yes. I mean, like in Kansas, pretty much all your spring sport athletes just didn't. I mean, it's kind of like the NCAA. Like they just don't get that sport.
And clubs too.
Clubs are pretty much shut down right now. I mean, like one of the like Swanee Sports Academy type places here in town. I saw on their website they're trying to do like only 50 people or less in the facility at any time. So just coaches and players. I don't know if they're still doing that because it's just like that work. Everybody running around breathing on each other. But yeah, so I know like right before it happened, kids were already saying like, no, all my soccer tournaments, all my volleyball tournaments, all my basketball tournaments until April have been canceled. So I would imagine at this point, I was actually trying to look into, either putting a team together or trying to get on at some local club and just, helping out. And that's going nowhere because it's just like there's no point trying to figure this out.
I feel bad for the seniors who are not going to have a normal graduation, normal spring. That's rough.
No, and that's pretty much already been decided here at Sunrise. It's just like, all of our international students have gone. They're just like, well,
wow.
Like there's no point in me being here if I'm just doing homework on my laptop. And so like all the basketball players, all the international kids, like the ones who are still here are the ones who couldn't get a flight, or like there's a kid from Australia. He's just like, I'd have to do 2 weeks of quarantine in LA and 2 weeks of quarantine in Australia when I get back. So he's like, I just might as well stick around here, get it out, and then if I can go home, maybe I will, but yeah, so there's a few kids here, just because of our situation that like, you feel for them because it's just like they can't go home right now. Like we actually have
Right.
2 Korean girls living with us. They've been living with us for the year, and we were like, "Are you, what's your thought? Are you going to go home?" They're just like, "We can't go home. Like, just the flights are too expensive, and just like everyone that comes into Korea, since that's one of the
Yeah.
nations that's done probably one of the best jobs with it.
Yeah.
Just like we would have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks when we get there, and too much money. It's just they're just like, no, we're staying here. So, but it's like, oh, you feel for those kids. It's just like they want to go
Yeah.
home, be with it, but they can't. And
Wow.
yeah,
That's
that's tough.
crazy.
Yeah, senior, yeah, graduation, all that stuff's been pretty much
Oh,
like we're trying to figure out an alternative, but like we do a Zoom meeting for graduation, like
yeah.
it's tough for the kids for
I
sure.
know. I keep telling everybody it's gonna be weird because Micah's supposed to sign for his soccer for college.
Oh,
We're gonna
yeah.
end up doing it. Looks like in our living room. It's gonna be kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Well, if they bring in the banner to put behind, you'll never know.
Yeah, I think we'll do like a live thing on Facebook. I guess I don't know what to
Okay,
do.
cool.
I mean, I think his coach from Pleasant High School lives not far from here.
Yeah.
So if everybody's healthy, he might come over and be here for the
So
signing. So
where's Micah going?
he's gonna play at Ohio Christian University. It's a small
Okay, cool.
NAIA school
Yep,
here
yep.
in town. Well, not in town. It's about an hour and a half from here. So
That's good. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Wow.
he's excited. The coach had him come down in was it February, and it was funny. He's like, I need to go to a practice. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I said, let us know what time I'll leave school early. He's like, no, I need to be there at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. What?
Yeah,
So sure enough, it was 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. He was there all day, training with him, loved it. So
that's good.
yeah, so it'd be a good experience for him, I think,
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome.
So
What's he looking to study?
he's going to study sports management. It looks like, and go that route, and then see what happens. So
Yeah, cool.
So yeah. So we'll see what happens. Well, before we wrap up, because I think I'm running out of Zoom minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
You got anything that you want to add to this, or anything you want to mention as far as advice or recommendations, or?
Yeah, I saw that too. I got scared because, like I told you, I don't operate on the mental levels of some of your other your other 2 people so far. No, I mean, like I said, if you're a worrier like me, there's an obvious answer to that, and that's God's word and trust in Him. That's the thing that I've clung to the most because, like I said, it's either worry or that. It's worry or that. So I can either worry about all this, worry about my kids getting sick, or worry about whether or not I got it, or I can just trust the Lord that I'm in His hands, and this whole thing's not outside His realm of control and understanding. So that's all I have.
It's good. I don't know if I mentioned this in the one with my friend in Hong Kong, but our pastor spoke 2 weeks ago about Bible myths, and how one of the myths is that the Bible never says that God won't give you more than you can handle, right? And so he preached on that. It's a really good sermon. Well, that week my wife gets the flu. She gets better. They head to the Dominican. In Dominican, she gets really sick. Emma passes out 3 times at school that week. They're talking about not letting Sonia fly home from the Dominican.
Right.
And I'm sitting here at the house going,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I actually texted the pastor, Jonathan. I said, yo, man, you got to stop preaching that kind of stuff. Holy smokes. But, it kind of made me realize that I had no control over any of that. None. All I could do was pray and ask the Lord to give me peace, because this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And that's what the Psalms, I think, is all about, is showing us just the fact that when David's overwhelmed, he just pours his heart out to God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Heavy times for sure, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of it too.
I agree.
Because like you've already said a few times, and I mean, just like even being here the past 2 days, like we as educators are having to learn new stuff that, like, honestly, I'm going to use a lot of this stuff again next year in my normal class with kids, sitting there looking at me. So like there's stuff like that. I think it's it's been a good pause too for just our society to kind of like sit down and look. Now, hopefully I don't feel like an idiot for saying that, because in 2 weeks, things really hit the fan and everything's awful. And now it's been a good pause. But like, I mean, at the same time, if we've overreacted and this is all it is, like, we had it disrupted some stuff, but disruption is part of life, and it can be
absolutely.
So.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, no,
It's been a great conversation.
yeah, absolutely. Good to reminisce. All
Absolutely. All right, man. Stay out of trouble.
right, cool. Take care.